You guys still here? Well, whoever is, welcome to UV Unwrapping. UV Unwrapping is a separate form of art. Why, you ask? There's no correct way of UV unwrapping because it's all for the convenience of the artist to be able to texture models later on. Whether you want to draw alien humanoids or whatever Sly Cooper looking ass thing I've got going on, the most important thing is organization. I like to start with the body when UV unwrapping characters just because there's kind of a formula when it comes down to unwrapping bodies. Jesus, that sounds weird. What I'm doing right now is basically unwrapping all the individual mesh types, or subtools. So later on when I texture, I have everything in their allocated groups. We want all the subtools to fit in this one UV tile to keep the texturing process simple, and because video cards optimize textures in square tiled formats to optimize gameplay. Now most of this video is just me trying to properly UV unwrap, and you'll know it's quote unquote proper if the UV reference grid has equal size and non-distorted squares. Kinda like this guy. The more you UV unwrap, the easier it gets, and things start to fall in place, like in Tetris. You get this rush when you see that first UV grid look proper. Now, an interesting thing to note are these shorts. Since they were modeled to be symmetrical, you could technically split the UV down the middle and stack the pieces on top of each other to save space. But there's a reason we won't do that. Ass. Pockets. If the front and back UVs were on top of each other in a UV tile, whatever I texture would appear on the front and back, which makes no sense because if you backed it up, it's more than fat enough. Yeah, I hate myself too. I had to fix the geometry of the boxing gloves because in the previous video, I had to replace some quads via the bridge tool, and in doing so, the quads later appear to show these white outlines around. This is the UV's way of saying, boy, if you don't get your detached head ass back together. To translate, you need to target weld the edges together so they are attached, and all in this together. Yep. The straps were easy because they're just flat planes, and I know what a lot of you are going to say, or not going to say, because no one really watches these. My UVs are definitely not optimized, straightened, and whatnot for an overall cleaner look. Although there's no excuse as a 3D artist, I was on a bit of a time crunch because I was working on other projects while trying to meet the deadline for Rainer Alansar's challenge. For things like the necklace, I look at the overall geometry and determine how many 3D shapes I can create from this particular model. Hence why I separated the actual chain portion as a cylindrical tube and the claws as their own. I'm doing here is neatly constraining all of my meshes within their subtool groups together, just so I can easily look at the UV map later when texturing. Well, that's all for this episode. I've got one final episode for this series where we get to the fun part, texturing. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or even exhale the slightest through your nostrils. And if you didn't like this video, use reverse psychology on me and like this so I can really feel your wrath. Thanks for watching.